focus on entrepreneurship and education. All right.
And education.
Yes, and like in business, like being business minded, financial literacy.
Okay.
So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. So this is Tracy Lawrence, and I'm CEO of BITT Magazine, Being Influenced Through Time. And so, as you know, BITT Magazine is a platform that helps to reduce recidivism and also works with grassroots organizations in order to transform and rebuild communities. So our focus for the month of September and October has been how did we get here? And so I'm privileged to be here today with Mr. Hilderbrand Pelzer III, who is principal of one of the largest elementary schools in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Also, Principal Pelzer has served many roles as it pertains to transforming instructional institutions and working with young people in order to give them necessary skills that they need in order to be successful in the 21st century. Principal Pelzer has also been the principal within the correctional institutions here in the city of Philadelphia and worked diligently in order to transform that agency. His platform was the non-graded cohort teaching partnership, in which he created, was his brainchild, and using that in alternative education work to also transform all ed. And so welcome, Principal Pelzer. I'm so pleased and privileged to be here with you today.
School is a special place. It's the place where kids grow, they navigate the world, they navigate friendships. People always talk about bullying, but really kids are trying to navigate friendship. They're trying to make their way in the world. They're trying to socialize, they're trying to grow, learn how to articulate and speak to one another and care for one another. And school helps them to do that.
I just want to talk to Principal Pelzer today just so he can give some insights to individuals who are coming out of correctional institutions, as well as be ahead of young people and making sure that, again, that they have the necessary core values so that they do not enter into alternative education or into the correctional facilities. So thank you, Principal Pelzer, for granting me this interview. And so if you could just give us some insights just about some of the work that you've done and some of the things that you have seen in being a principal in correctional institutions.
Not a problem, thank you. I've been a principal for more than 10 years now, going on my 11th or 12th year. More than 20 years in education at just about every level: high school, elementary, alternative education, as well as correctional education. So for me, education is the way to help people. Education is the way for people to help themselves. You talked about correctional education in particular. For 4 years, I had the opportunity to work inside of the Philadelphia prison system. Here in the city of Philadelphia, the Philadelphia prison system was the 5th largest and may still be the 5th largest urban correctional county jail system in the country. At the time, it had over 9,100 inmates. And within that setting, my team and I, we were able to put together initiatives that help adult inmate learners and juveniles being tried as adults receive a quality education. One of the things that I found in the correctional setting is that there were brilliant people inside of the correctional setting. Their pathways, unfortunately, took them down the wrong road. But they were eager to learn, they wanted to learn, and they bought into education. And what we did was to make it a way where they could complete their education, and in many cases, inmate learners graduating from high school.
Fabulous. So just in terms of what you saw, and I know that there are many stories, Principal Pelzer is also a published author, and so Unlocking Potential is the name of the book that he has published, and so it is a great read. And so if we have, it's on Kindle as well as in paperback, so if you have the opportunity to go out and get that, please do, because you will be forever changed as it relates to education and your thoughts about education and your perspectives on education. Well, you know, and I've had the opportunity and pleasure to work with Mr. Pelzer. He has been a mentor of mine he is a mentor of mine, but we worked together formally for 3 years?
3 years.
3 years.
Yep.
And so he is very passionate about teaching and learning. And so if you could just share with us just one thing that you latched onto, or one story that you latched onto relating to a young person, a juvenile that you saw going through the correctional institution? And are there any success stories that you have that you could share with us?
Well, it's a lot of stories, a lot of success stories. The one that stands out today and has always been something that has kept me motivated was a young man who was 18 years old who sought out an education inside the Philadelphia prison system. But his efforts were so tremendous in that he made certain that he, and this is a story that really impacts me all the time, he made certain that he sought me out to get his GED. I asked him why he was working so hard to get his GED. This young man was being tried as an adult, was in the adult system, and was being charged for a capital crime. But he wanted to get his GED. He wanted to get his GED because he thought that getting his education would be that mark that would continue to make his mom proud of him. It was that time that no matter what his circumstance was, he wanted to make certain that people who loved him continued to love him and be proud of him. And he found that the way to do that was to get his education. And I always told myself that if he, with the challenges that he has had, being charged for a capital crime and they were seeking the death penalty, if he could still find his way to an education, anybody in any challenging circumstance or organization could also find their way to education.
Education definitely is paramount, you know, and I do believe that young people, whether it be from kindergarten all the way up to higher education, whatever, 18 years of age, I do believe that they want to learn and that they want to be successful. So I guess my question to you now is, and I remember when you took me, Principal Pelzer, I had the opportunity to go with Mr. Pelzer behind the wall actually to a prison on State Road where a graduation was taking place. And one thing that I saw that the inmates that were there, they were very proud about their accomplishment. And so granted, there are people who are behind bars, who are behind the wall, but we can't throw those individuals away because ultimately they're going to come out. And we need for them to be productive citizens. Right. We need for them to be fathers and husbands and uncles and brothers and mentors and business people and so on. But what I did not see was a lot of family members there to represent those inmates. And so just how important is family? I think that sometimes we forget and we look at the crime that individuals have committed and we throw away the entire person. Right. And so how important is it for families and loved ones to still stay in contact with their family members behind the wall? And just what are some things that mothers and wives and grandmothers and aunts and children can do in order to continue to motivate and encourage those individuals?
Family is important. Those that have family that are able to see them, it's important that they go to see them. Those on the inside who have kids and children on the outside, it's important that they continue to communicate with them and communicate with them in a parental way. Inside of a prison, it is a community. And it's a community that must be supported. It's a community that must be strong with resources. So within the community, it's important that those facilities take very serious heed to those strategies and resources that are in place. But on the outside, inmates need their families. Inmates need their wives, their mothers, their brothers, whomever, grandparents. They need them to stick with them, to stay with them, to communicate to them, to visit them, and to keep them informed so that they can grow with them and grow as the world moves past them. That is very essential. It's essential for an adult inmate and it's very essential for a juvenile inmate. One of the things I always admired at the Philadelphia prison system was that the wardens and commissioners would allow me to bring in family members for special celebrations. So we would bring them in for graduation celebrations, we would bring them in on family day, we would bring them in on certain special occasions. And I found that moment in time to be the opportunity where the inmate can continue to make others proud of them so that they can see how they're growing up and navigating that prison community. The family piece is very important.
Absolutely.
Let me just add one other thing. I spoke to some fathers, inmates, and the conversation was about being parents. So when you get visits from your children or you talk to them over the phone, you still continue to articulate and convey to them your desire for them to succeed in school, behave in school, do well in that parental way. That is also very, very important, that they still have that connection to their children.
Yeah, that really is critical. I know that just in being an assistant principal, you know, in the school district, like some of the common threads that I would see, or is just the lack of parental involvement and community engagement, and for people who are out here, and so it definitely is critical for parents who are incarcerated that they still maintain that bond, that relationship with their children, because their children definitely do still need that, and they strive for that, and they cry out for that. One other thing that I wanted to talk about was the fact that many inmates, I mean, when they come out, it's not going to be easy. And so, you know, they'll get faced or get forced up against, you know, rocks and hard places. And so, can you just give them some words of encouragement in terms of, you know, okay, you apply for this job, you don't get it, you know, so now what? And also just about being financially literate, if you could talk about that just a little bit, and maybe, and even being entrepreneurs, and so, you know, with their own businesses and whatnot. So could you speak about that just a little bit?
They need to think about being entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. Most governmental agencies or private industries frown upon hiring an ex-inmate or ex-offender. Or someone who has spent time, considerable time, inside of a correctional facility. That is a hard, cold fact. So within the correctional setting, it's really about training themselves up. One, education. But any opportunity to learn entrepreneurial skills, to take advantage of resources out in the community that will help them start businesses, or to pursue careers that will lead them to their own business, is always something that I recommend. Because just coming out, our jobs, our businesses really frown upon hiring them. And that's the real deal. Everyone doesn't frown upon it, but out of all your businesses, you may have a small percentage that are willing and amenable to helping someone coming out, but for the most part, they're not. So inmates, those who are behind bars, those who are spending time, need to begin to grow up and really think about how they get that education during that time, as well as thinking about what will I do when I do get released, and help myself and help my family, because that's a real hard, cold fact.
Absolutely. And so just another thought that comes to my mind is the fact that young people really admire pop culture and what's going on in music and videos and so on. And even in conversations that I've had with young people in the past, is like, well, when I go to jail, like that's an aspiration, like that's some sort of rites of passage. And so, you know, what would you say to young people, you know, who feel like they don't want to wait, or they feel like it's a waste of time to be in a school setting, or it's not cool to be in school, you know, pants sagging, you know, again, glorifying that culture, drug dealing, fast money, easy women, you know, that type of thing. So what would you say to those young people?
That's a good question. We're always in competition with the type of role models that folks want to seek out. I consider myself a role model. I consider you a role model. And as role models, we have to do better by young people, because the competition is fierce. They don't want to wait. Young people don't want to wait. They want things right now. And that may be the sound of the times. But the fact of the matter is, any opportunity that we have to influence a young person, particularly in school, particularly in the education setting, particularly in classroom settings, we got to take advantage of it. You mentioned earlier about this school and the schools that I've had being large schools. So I take serious responsibility and pride in the fact that I have all of these young people who I can be a role model and I can be the image that they want to become. And I become the one who influences them in what I would think is the right direction to grow, get an education, and pursue their dreams. But the competition in the neighborhoods, the competition in music, the competition in sports, and all of those things is something that we have to try to overcome.
Right, so if I'm hearing you correctly, if I can just put a word on it, mentorship.
Mentorship.
And so what would you say to small businesses? What would you say to our males and our males, African American and Latino males in the community? What would you say to fraternities and sororities? What would you say to other organizations regarding partnering with schools, colleges, and universities? What would you say to them about the imperativeness, if that's a word, the importance of partnering with their local schools in order to serve as mentors for young people?
I would say that the individual who is a part of that type of organization, the individual, must have a real commitment for that kind of mentorship. What happens a lot of times, churches or fraternities or other organizations, structurally they have programs that deal with mentoring. So they do the program because that's a part of the national directive or what have you. But that individual who signs up to be a part of that program must know that this is something they really want to do. Because once you show yourself to that child and that child connects with you, then that child is going to look for you to take them to the next step. So you can't be flip-flopping with it. You can't be just in it because you think it's the right thing to do or you think it feels good. You really have to individually commit to that.
As a African American male and leader within the community, a hero, an unsung hero, really is what I consider you to be. What would you just let's talk to the young men, and not even just young men, older men, just men in general. Let's talk to the men because there's a large outcry regarding males being fathers, males being, again, role models, males being respectful to women, and so on. And so, in my belief, I believe that in order for our communities to grow and flourish, we definitely need for our men to be at the heads of the households where they belong in order to help to strengthen females, to support females, to support children, to support communities. PSA right now to the men, because I'm really calling on the men in order to stand up. We know that there are 2 young girls who are missing right now. If we've been taking a look at the news, what's going on, 2 young girls, I believe like 7 and 11, who are missing. We have young females who are promiscuous, who are not attending to themselves as young women. I see young Muslim sisters key-marked up, but they're using profanity and not, acting right, or what we consider to be moral, of the moral compass. So let's talk to men about what they need to do in order to help strengthen and lead the community, our communities in the right direction.
It's always that saying, man up. Men, whether they be fathers or not fathers, but just men in general, young men, I would say 2 things. 1, take life seriously. Like, life is serious. Being a responsible person is serious. Doing the right thing is not difficult. We all know how to make good choices and decisions, and we need to think about the choices and decisions we make. Men must do that. 2, men have the responsibility to make their parents, but more in particular, their mother, proud of them. And if you keep that in front of you, that I want to make my mom proud of me, then you should always want to do the right thing. Because no matter how old you get, You always want to make certain that you are making your mom and your parents proud of your decisions and of your accomplishments. They want to be able to say to their peers and to their friends what their son is doing positively in the world. So wanted to make people proud, particularly your parents, and taking life seriously, because life is not a game. I always talk to my daughter about what I termed the signs of a bum. And I use that in using descriptions of what to look for in a man as she grows up and maybe one day wants to get married and have a family. And she's able to have these characteristics of men who are responsible, who care about family, who care about themselves, who care about the community, who care about getting an education, and who care about just seeing the world in a better place. So taking life seriously and wanting to make people proud is what all men should commit to.
Quite often, I hear, when my father wasn't in my life and I didn't have a role model and so on. I mean, is that an excuse?
It's a poor excuse, because going back to your earlier question, whether it's your father, brother, or some other image, the principal or whomever, there are images that you can model. There are people who are doing good things in every field of human endeavor who you can model. And folks need to seek that out. I had a young man, he was on his way to a state prison from the Philadelphia prison system. And I met with him early in the morning before the sheriff van picked him up. It was about 5 in the morning. The sheriff van was going to come pick him up, take him upstate. And what I told him was, he asked me for advice. My advice to him was to find someone in the prison who was like me. Me being the principal or the person in charge of education. The person who can help you continue the success that you already made. So everyone can find someone to model.
Very good advice. And so ultimately, just give us some, is it ever too late?
No. For those who are incarcerated,
right,
it's never too late. You can't give up. Each day you get up and breathe and live in the world. Even if your world is confined behind bars, you can't give up. You got to stay the course. Staying the course is a form of encouragement. That term is encouragement. Folks must make positive those environments that they find themselves.
So as we talk about the theme, how did you get here? How did we get here? Talk about what inspired you. What inspired you to go on to, why are you not a drug dealer? Why are you not incarcerated? Why are you the success that you are? Why are you a role model? So how did you get here?
Well, I'm where I am today because I believe it was because I had good parents who were both educators. I also had an older brother who made, and I had family who made it their business to make certain that I grew, learned, and pursued my dreams. And that's what it takes. I never desired to become a principal. In fact, I didn't know what I wanted to be coming out of high school. I thought I knew. And I kind of fell into education because of work experiences with juvenile inmates and others, and seeing the despair in their lives. So I'm here as an educator to kind of help people navigate around and not use as an excuse the despairs in their life.
Right.
And that's why I'm here today.
So for young people who 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade on up, who have parents who are addicted to drugs and alcohol, who have parents who are abusive, who have absent parents, who are facing peer pressure, and all of that, what do you say to them? Even, they're young people whose minds are not fully developed at this point. What do you say to them?
They're in a tough situation. They're in a bad situation. They may not see any hope in that situation. But if there's ever an opportunity to attend school, or to attend a recreation center, or to attend a faith-based organization, or whatever the case may be. Find that adult that can help them navigate their trials and tribulations. They can't use it as an excuse. However, the younger they are, it takes more of the adults to help them navigate that, and not to get frustrated with them because they are unable to navigate that.
Right.
And do whatever we can, and particularly in education, to keep them in school and to keep them around positive adults. As they get older, they must know that their choices and decisions, if they make it because I came out of poverty, or I didn't have a mother, or I didn't have a father, and they make the wrong choice, they must live with that consequence. But you don't have to make that wrong choice. You just need to stay the course, find those positive birds of a feather flock together, find those positive individuals to help you navigate the world.
Well, as we talk about 21st century learning and all of that in classrooms, and I've been doing a lot of reading about, that's my passion, curriculum instruction. So what do we say to teachers where we may be using antiquated and outdated methods and models and whatnot, where kids are saying, I'm bored to death and whatnot. So let's talk a little bit about what teachers, because ultimately they're the soldiers on the front line. So tell me about, or tell us, share with us, what do teachers need to do in terms of classrooms in order to help children become those responsible individuals who are able to think critically, who are able to problem solve, who are able to collaborate with one another. So what do you envision, or what do you tell your teachers or share with your teachers?
Well, teachers in general, no matter the school that I may be a part of, must know their craft. If you're a teacher, you must know your craft. You must know your content. You must know those strategies. You must have that commitment to continue to grow professionally. 2, if you commit to education, then your commitment must be to see some outcome. That what I am teaching or what I am dropping into the brains of young people, they are getting it, and know that they're getting it, and help them to continue to do well in the setting of school. But teachers are in the forefront. Teachers are, in the urban setting anyway, are working in some difficult settings. But they must know their craft, and more importantly, the trends. Stay abreast of youth culture and youth trends, because it's always changing. And it changes so rapidly and so fast that they must also understand the times that they're in with young people.
Technology, you kind of move towards this in terms of trends and changing and whatnot. And so technology, how do we utilize technology and manipulate technology and make it our friend in order to, again, thrust it home and keep things, or keep children actively engaged? And so, because technology could be a harmful tool, but it could also be a positive tool. So
it's going to be harmful and it's going to be helpful, and that's just the fact of the matter. Technology is harmful and it's helpful, but technology can be very helpful in a school setting. Technology alone can allow kids in classrooms and schools to work with other kids, classrooms and schools anywhere in the world, and to collaborate and to work on projects and goals, and just to expand their knowledge of the world. Technology can do that, and in these days, that's what kids need. The world is global, so all teachers must find a way on their own, through school resources, and encouraging the kids to use their resources to make technology work for them.
So some final thoughts, just bring it home for us. And again, I'm speaking to Hilderbrand, Pelzer III, one of the finest principals within the city of Philadelphia. And so BITT Magazine thanks you. We thank you for your time. And so again, we are very privileged to have the opportunity to speak to you today. So just some final thoughts for the people out there in the world. Again, our focus is the inner city. Our focus is really, the people who are real, the people who are really doing this work, who's really out here, who's not just talking the talk, but walking the walk as well. So just bring a home for us in terms of where you'd like to see the city of Philadelphia move, what we can do if we work collaboratively and collectively as a community.
Well, all cities, City of Philadelphia included, they must commit to education. In every level of education, every institution of education, whether that be K to 12 or our colleges and universities, private, parochial, whatever the case may be, cities must commit to education. Cities must get better with making certain that we have educated people at all times. That must be in the forefront. Going back to your magazine and the work that your magazine is doing around urban areas and the correctional setting, particularly in the correctional settings, we talk about building jails and all of that. Education must be a part of those institutions as well, because education is also a way to rehabilitate and to get people to think differently. So education is it for me. Education is the solution to a lot of our problems. It's the way that people can make themselves better economically, socially, and in many other ways. So education is the key.
So again, this is Mrs. Lawrence, and I'm here with our Principal Hilderbrand, Pelzer III, who again is the renowned author of Unlocking Potential, again having to do with education behind the walls of the prison systems, also who is the theorist of the 9th graded cohort teaching partnership, which has proven to work, who has been an instrumental individual within alternative education and not throwing our children away. And so with that being said, BITT Magazine is again so proud and so privileged to have had the opportunity to speak with Principal Pelzer today. One last question,
Yes.
Brand. Any books coming out or anything like that in the near future? What can we expect from you in the near future?
Well, you talked about the one book, Unlocking Potential.
Yes.
Organizing a school inside of a prison.
Yes.
It's a very good book. It's done well. A lot of folks see it as an aspect of education,
Right.
correctional education that they've never thought about.
Right.
But I've had the opportunity to speak about it and do workshops around it. But for me, the next challenge is really helping parents and helping schools connect with parents,
Right.
so that they stay in touch with education.
Absolutely. So again, this is Ms. Lawrence signing off. So if you have any questions or comments for Mr. Pelzer, do feel free to email me at bittmagazine@gmail.com, or you can hit us up on Facebook, follow us on Twitter. We're also on Instagram, we're on LinkedIn. And so again, this is Ms. Lawrence signing off, and Mr. Pelzer, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Absolutely.